our taste buds are formed in the aisles of the grocery store. That's where we all, like, the great equalizer of most Americans happens in the aisles of the grocery store. You have to celebrate it. You have to lean into it. That's how I connect. But, like, that's the beauty of this cookbook. It's the baking gamut of don't take yourself so seriously. And even when you do, you've got this.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Today on the show, we have Christina Tosi in the studio. She's the author of a great new cookbook called Bake Club and the founder of Milk Bar. I know you've had the corn cookies. We all have. But it is our 500th episode, and this isn't a standard intro. Eliza is here as well. How are you?
I'm just so excited about 500 episodes. It's such a crazy landmark.
I know it's like a number that is round, and it says something about all the work that we've done, the work that Anna Hezel did previously as the co-host, and the work from Clayton Gumber and Shalia Harris and Pat Stango, our producers. And really, I'm so thrilled. We made it to 500. What do you think?
I think it's awesome. And also it's made possible by all the great guests we've had on the show so far, including Christina, who I believe this is her 4th time coming on the podcast.
It is her 4th time. It really represents somebody who's been with us this whole way. I think she first joined the show in 2019. We launched in 2018 with a conversation between myself and Samin Nosrat back at Books Are Magic. This was June 2018. And I have to say, that conversation still holds up, as do many of ours in the archives.
Yeah, and I think it's really special to have an archive like that, and even for a guest like Christina to get to look back on her previous episodes and then check in with her now. I hope we'll get to do 500 more.
I think we will. I mean, we've been growing audience. We have new listeners. Hello, new listeners. Hello to the folks who've been sticking with us since we launched in 2018. It's so fun to host the show with you. I love listening back to your interviews. They're different from mine. And I know that we have a really fun time doing 3 things and just like going on the road, doing some stuff in the field. I love it, Eliza. It's a deep pleasure to be able to share the mic with you.
Yeah, me as well. It's really special to get to listen to your episodes and then to, sit across the table from you with our microphones and all the other equipment and talk about what we've been up to. It's always a delight.
And lastly, listeners, thank you so much for writing us in messages on Instagram and our inbox, hello@tastecooking.com. It's just great to know you're out there. We see you, we hear you. You've given us great tips on who we should talk to next. We take advice. And really, here's to 500 more episodes.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun things planned for the end of this year, for the beginning of next year. So stick with us.
Christina Tosi, welcome to This Is Taste. It's our 500th episode.
Dude, happy birthday, happy anniversary. What is it? It's all the things.
All of the above.
Really big deal.
We made it here. We're not going to make a big deal of it because we have 500 more.
So more than.
But
it is an honor to help you like milestone this out, my friend.
Well,
we've been on many years. We've been a little bit of a part of these 500.
You have been, and I think this is your 4th appearance. We've done live shows. We've done some remotes. You've been in the studio. I have to ask you to start, if you could bake 500 things to send to 500 of our listeners, what would that be?
What would it be? That's a good question. I think I would split it. I'd say chocolate or vanilla because those are dividing lines.
That is
and if it's chocolate, I would send brownie cake from the book, and if it's vanilla, I'd send birthday blondies.
Birthday blondies are my favorite.
They're so good. They're so easy to make. They're so good. But also, I respect people that are like, I'm chocolate, and if you don't have chocolate, I'm not listening. So you gotta be able to show up for people with the right dessert.
Yeah, and then there's obviously chocolate and peanut butter, which we'll get to.
Oh my gosh! Also, chocolate pretzels. Swirl brownies. I always say it the wrong way.
That's a good one.
Brownie swirl squares. They all work. It's salty sweet. They all work. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here for 500, and thank you listeners for listening and tuning in. We have many more shows planned, and I'm so psyched to talk to you, Christina. Where have you been dining out? You have moved recently.
Yes.
And Nashville. I love this news. You live in Nashville. What's good with Nashville?
I know we used to be upstate buddies.
We were
and then
upstate
I just
buddies.
Dropped the news on you.
I know.
We love Nashville. We have only been there for like a month or two, so it feels like a funny little vacation, but also one that you're like, okay, settle in. Like we're not moving. Like settle in.
Yeah.
SS, we live on the east side.
Yeah.
Love
East Nashville's the best.
Love. It has some of the like most raucous, delicious, fun eating.
Yeah.
I get to hang out with Sean Brock a lot because we've known each other for 18 years. You talk about 15th or 500 episodes. Audrey and June on the east side. Redheaded Strangers, a fun little,
really fun
block of things. We love SS Guy for like just amazing, amazing chicken. For a bunch of different things. I cook a lot at home.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the fun thing about it all. We do eat out a lot, but I love to cook at home.
Yeah.
That's been a really, really, really strong move. But Brown's Diner, if we were to go out every week, we would go to Brown's Diner and get burgers on a Sunday night.
I know this spot for sure. It's terrific. What a great vibe. And have you been up to the Franklin Farmers Market yet?
I have not yet.
That place.
We've been to the pumpkin patch. I mean, we have a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old. So our life, trying to do anything before a farmer's market closes on a Saturday or Sunday is like a laughable, humbling feat. But I've heard great things.
How'd you land in Nashville? It's an amazing choice. It's obviously one of our great food cities in America, but there's a lot of great food cities.
There are a lot of great food cities. We were looking for a place to call home where our kids could kind of run wild and free, but we could also selfishly, as the parents and adults and the breadwinners, have a place that felt like home for us too. And home for us is that, but it's also a place where you can get great food and great music and celebrate the arts and be in a place where the entrepreneurial spirit is not just welcomed, it's really embraced and supported to be a part of that movement, which we love. And it didn't hurt that my entire family all agreed to move to Nashville. I left like home as a teenager going, all right, I'm going to move to New York City. I love food. I'm going to do this with all my might. And my family just looked at me cross-eyed like, you are cuckoo. We'll see you at Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, we'll keep your stocking hung by the fireplace at Christmas. But so it's been a sweet, like, family move from a multi-generational standpoint, which is a quality of life that I truly never thought I'd be interested in or then get.
I mean, when you're in New York working restaurant jobs and you're working 80 hours, you're not thinking about like seeing your family.
No.
It's literally like on the weekends you have a quick call.
Yeah. On the weekends you have a quick call or like more often than not a Tuesday because a Tuesday is your weekend or like maybe if the restaurant is closed the day after Christmas or something random like that. And now I'm like, I mean, I'm old too. Like if it's our 16th birthday at Milk Bar, I'm like, do the math, man.
Yeah.
In old age, it's funny how, things that are old become new again or things that you thought left behind are actually a really important part of you.
Have you guys had a big like meal, like your sister, your mom, your fam?
My mom just celebrated her 70th birthday.
Nice.
Sorry, Mom, I'm not trying to blow you up. You're the coolest, hippest, hottest 70-year-old.
She plays like a 50-year-old though.
100%.
Obvious.
We threw a surprise birthday party for her in our Airbnb, and we just went all out with her favorite foods. But I have older nieces that are 11 and 13. They love to cook and to bake, and we just did a giant tableau meal. We pretended that we were somewhere between like Hawaii, the tropics, listen to the Beach Boys. Like we made the entire Airbnb look like a beach scene.
The girls must have loved decorating
amazing.
that. Oh, so
but yeah, just that sort of stuff where like even in New York City, you just don't have the elbow room to imagine that, let alone like the chairs in your apartment to set that dining room up.
So Tosi, tell me about you're now a tourist in New York. Essentially,
you want to know what New York
What's
still
that
is a
feel like?
home. I have like
I still
have a pillow here and Dan.
Yeah.
And it feels great. Will's joke is that he loves New York City now even more because it's sort of the like you're in it, you proved the staying power, you worked your way up in your field. Then you built a family. Life has these different ebbs and flow changes where he's like, I feel like I'm like a young 20-something-year-old in New York again because I can burn the midnight oil.
Yeah.
I can see my friends. I can do all the things that I was either too busy working or parenting or adulting to do. So it's always, New York City, love letter, but also I love the comfort that this place provides and having it feel so small, but also knowing that home is kind of just wherever all of my people are.
Do you walk around the East Village ever near near your original spot?
Always.
What are you thinking when you're walking by the Sambar space and it's empty and you walk down and you see like a lot of places closed in East Village?
It's crazy. I am a crazy real estate junkie. Like, fun fact about me, because in all of the milk bars we ever built, I was always the real estate person and the director of construction and all these things.
I know that
so
about
I'm
you.
obsessed. My dad was a navigator in the Navy, so I have a way about knowing
spatial recognition. Yeah.
No Google Maps for me, but I'm always fascinated by what's in and what's out in the storefronts and what the feeling is and what new buildings have gone up, what's come down, what the residential situation looks like. I still go to the bodega on 2nd Avenue and 9th Street, which is where I like got the box of cornflakes to come up with cereal milk in the middle of the night. I walk my paths because I used to always walk from like the Sambar basement to the noodle bar basement and the Co basement and then eventually the milk bar basement and the old Momo offices. Like, it's a little bit of if these walls could talk, but also what I love about the East Village is how much changes, but also how much stays the same.
Yeah.
Like, you can still go into Mud Coffee and get like a glorious cup.
Yeah, Mud will keep you awake for hours and hours. What a great cup. And like Ray's Candy Bar on Avenue A is still there. Ray is 90 and still working.
That's for me, like, that is probably the best microcosm of New York City for me and why I love it. There's so much grit and tenure and traction, but also so much curiosity and newness. And I'm a sentimentalist, but I also am like a keep moving, keep looking, keep exploring.
Well, you're a CEO of a company and you have to like think about these things.
It's crazy. But I love the East Village will always be home in like so many wonderful ways. And I'm so excited for what it's becoming as well.
I agree. I you could look back and be like, oh man, all that stuff is gone. But like there's definitely like really like Fox Face Natural is there. Like of course the new Superiority Burger is there. And
thank you, Brooks.
Thank you, Brooks. and like there's like energy in life and like early 20-year-olds are moving to the Village, East Village.
Like it continues on. That's it. It's like every part of New York City is a reflection of the people that inhabit it right now. And that's a really fantastic way to put it, I think, Matt.
I mean, Christina, have you thought about doing your own like solo restaurant that's not Milk Bar?
It's so funny. Will always teases me. He's like, you should just open a storefront that's called, I think he wants to be called Bake Sale.
Sure.
I was like, I'll call it R&D, Research and Desserts, because he sees like a piece of me and life that probably people see definitely through Bake Club because that's kind of the whole premise of it. But it's just the stuff that I feed myself. It's the stuff that I'm curious about that I'm always working on and working through on like the kitchen bench, but at home as a home baker. And I love to feed people. So if you live in any sort of proximity to me, I'm unloading all of the desserts and the baked goods to you. I don't know. It's that tricky thing of like, do we know too much? You know what I mean? Like, I love
as a single operator.
It's for
like
the love of the game that I love to do it.
Yeah.
But the whole reason I opened Milk Bar in the first place was my obsession with like being a shopkeep. Like I wasn't sure if I'd open a bakery eventually. I was just like, I always wanted to work in like a little shoppy shop. Like the beauty and romance of that for me is like a texture of life that I will forever be obsessed with. So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of the bake sale, like just like every day there's like a rotating menu. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's it. Like literally. But then I'm like, would I be type A about it or not?
I mean,
like,
obviously.
Part of me is like, well, it just opens when it opens because now I have a dog. I got butter I got to walk. I got the kids that have to go to school. You know, a little bit of the like, how do you make sure you protect the integrity of what's going to make the output so special? And part of that is like making enough room for life and not running too much of a business, always and forever like a business. Because that's the texture, the secret sauce of any great brand. Milk Bar, this hypothetical
I like
bakery,
research and desserts.
Research R&D,
that's
right?
That's hitting. Bake shop, bake sale is cool too. Both of you guys are branding wizards, you and Will. You guys know what's up. All right, so we're going to talk about this beautiful new book. It is really smart. It's one of my favorites of the year. And really, you've been publishing a lot of books in the last like 5 years. Yeah. My favorite.
Oh, thank you.
It's so great and detailed.
Wait, what do you like about it?
I
mean, I know what I like about it, but I'm so curious.
Couple things that come to mind. First, the very cool choice about showing mise en place in photography at the top of every recipe, which is something that we work in cookbooks here. You don't see. So mise en place ingredients, you're seeing all the ingredients. and you're like visualizing how to make it. That's one thing I like. The other thing I like is that it clearly covers a wide range of baking. It's not a cookie book or a cake book. There's a really nice bread moment in the book. There's really nice breakfast baking. There's like lots of like pantry baking. And really, first question really is that you call baking a useful skill, which I think is something that we forget about, and you pointed it out. Like, it's not just making cake for a birthday, right?
No, it's like I look at baking as, and to your point, like in the cookbook, it ranges from like the most basic pantry staple of like a graham cracker, rainbow sprinkles.
Yeah.
It's like knowing and understanding where things come from. Butter, like if you run out of butter, you can make butter.
No, compound butter
section
is really
and then
fun.
and then you can make butter taste really, really good in whatever flavor you want, all the way to, of course, like a tabletop treat. But I think baking has been celebrated in so many different ways. But I think the one thing that I love to do with baking is demystify it and to humanize it and to make it really accessible, because it is really accessible.
Yeah. And it's definitely for many parts of your life, many moments in your life. It's not always about a 4-hour project. You're clearly doing that. And it all started, the idea of Bake Club, it came from the pandemic. So give our listeners a little bit of a history of what Bake Club started as, and now you're here with like a lot of members. It's like actually a club.
So, hey, what's up, listeners? Happy 500th episode.
500.
So Bake Club started, I started it on a whim during the pandemic, because when you bake, no matter good day, bad day, scary day, uncertain day. So there's a lot of baking in my house in 2020. And when you bake for a living, it's because you love to show up for people and feed them. And we were all locked in. And so I was like, what do you do? And I basically just turned the camera around on myself and just started actually doing out loud the thing that I was doing quietly as an introvert in my own home. And for me, it was that coupled with the call to action, where I was like, well, I can't show up for you. I can't be at the store and say hi and try and make your day better here. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to invite you into my home. And it was a simple invitation, like, do you want to join a club? We're going to bake every day at 2 p.m. And my big thing, to your point of the mise en place ingredients at the head of the cookbook, my big idea beyond just like, all are welcome, come on in, we're going to do this every day, was I'm not actually going to tell you what you're opting into, because I think the humanity of us humans is that we are so great at talking ourselves into, but more often than not out of stuff. And
work, labor,
all of the things, even like go out joyful, have a good time, go on a run, it's going to be better for you. Man, the inner dialogue. Like, how do you remove the inner dialogue and then the joy of just cannonballing into something that you have no clue what you're actually cannonballing into? So I would literally just post whatever the random ingredients were. And the beauty of baking is it's few and simple ingredients. A lot of them are interchangeable because it's really not that fussy. And 1, 2, 3, go. And it just became this brilliant, like, digital pen pal universe across the U.S. And it's been going now for 4+ years. And I really wanted to write a cookbook that shared a lot of those recipes. So the cookbook has a lot of new Bake Club recipes that have not yet been released. And that really just continued the movement of like, this is a come in, you're welcome, leave it all behind you for the like brilliant, unfussy moments that we're going to spend together. And just know that you're a part of something that is positive and stands for something, regardless of everything else that happens in your day, in your community, in your life. And it's all through the lens of baking. And baking is it's not part of the food pyramid. You know what I mean? Like, it's an inherently joyful thing. It's something that's shareable. It's a conduit to community, to good days, to bad days, to all that sort of stuff.
Are you still doing Bake Club? Are you still like doing those Tuesdays at what,
Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Fridays at 2 p.m.
Fridays at 2 p.m. You show up. So you sign up on your website.
Yeah.
You get like a link and it's a stream and you're watching you bake every
That's it.
Friday.
But we're baking together.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just going from scratch. You also get a Bake Club card in the mail. I have one for you, my friend.
Oh my God.
We're handwriting your address. We're like the whole
I
kit
love
and caboodle.
that.
And you get one email once a week that's like, Here's the ingredients that you need. I'm not telling you anything else.
Yeah.
Here's what we baked last week, just in case you missed it. Here's whatever hilarious thing that we're like vibing on the internet that's bringing us a little moment of
fun.
joy. And then here's what Butter the dog is up to. And if it's your birthday, what's up? Happy
Shouts,
birthday.
like Peloton style.
Yeah. Well, also you got to wash your hands for 30 seconds. And during the pandemic,
Yeah.
we were like, that's the perfect amount of time to slow down and celebrate. some birthdays.
I love it, Christina. I've not been able to make the stream, and I'm gonna do this.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna
Anytime.
jump in.
You're always in and you're always welcome.
I love it. I will definitely. So let me go through a couple recipes because I have like a lot of notes here, and one is like, excuse me, bugle bars. Excuse me, you did a bar with bugles, and
I did.
I absolutely love this idea.
So talk about salty sweet. That's one of my love languages. I love tensions. I love opposites, and I love a salty sweet moment. So bugle bars are basically the idea of a 7-layer bar or a magic bar or a dream bar,
We call them
depending on
magic.
where you are.
Yeah.
And the idea of using sweetened condensed milk as like sweet sticky glue to bring sizes and shapes and textures together. So the base, it's an 8x8 inch pan. The base of it is a cookie dough. You can make it from scratch. You could do whatever you want, store buy it, what have you. And then it's stuff like mini marshmallows, crunchy cookies. I personally go Ritz crackers. And then the thing that is non-negotiable for me are bugles, because I was making these out of like a late night pantry R&D session. This would have gone on the menu of R&D.
Research and desserts.
And just, I like to ask myself the questions of what if. And I was obsessing over the idea of like how a dream bar, magic bar comes to be. And of all the snacky things I had in my pantry, I was like, bugles, that's interesting. Most cereal we love is corn-based, even though we don't think of it as corny.
Completely.
Milk bar, corn cookie. I'm from the Midwest, love a good corn bake. Corn is very much.
Well, we love you for your corn cookies. We've had like 80 million of them in our country.
So good.
It's a good one.
And I did the thing that I often do. I kind of look at something sideways and I go, like you're either a good idea or you're a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I put them on top. Drizzle of all of these other sweet and salty things. Sweetened condensed milk. You bake it for 25, 30 minutes just until the goo glues and caramelizes. And babe, when I tell you, like, it is a warm, slightly underbaked chocolate chip cookie base with all these other things. And then you get these bugles that have been like caramelized and toasted slow and low in the oven. And also the ASMR of it. Like really is one of my.
It's one of the crunchiest snack foods around.
Also the finger hats.
The finger hats.
The
I mean, and it's got a flavor profile that it's like obviously like ups the industrial game, but I love that. You need to like celebrate industrial foods when we have it.
For me, it's like our taste buds are formed in the aisles of the grocery store. That's where we all, like the great equalizer of most Americans happens in the aisles of the grocery store. You have to celebrate it. You have to lean into it. That's how I connect. But like, that's the beauty of this cookbook. It's like one recipe is bugle bars. The next is a creme brulee or a macaron. The other is, you know what I mean? It's like a mint chip Sammy sandwich.
Croissants.
Like it's Thanksgiving croissant. Stuffing croissant.
Yeah, croissant.
It's the baking gamut of don't take yourself so seriously. And even when you do, you've got this. Here's the skills. Just get out there.
The confidence, you exude confidence, and it's infectious for us. I think it's a beautiful thing when you can go into a situation and feel like you're going to make something delicious. And I think you exude that. We don't talk enough about muffins. I feel like muffins was like a thing in the 90s, and then we somehow forgot about it. But
I think it's because of the Atkins diet. Like someone told us like gluten,
too much carbs
were bad. I've been on a real muffin obsession run.
I mean, I think the macros for like some of those muffins you would get were like outrageous for certain reasons. You know, that was like the little bit of the thing. I mean,
some muffins are really just unfrosted cupcakes.
I know.
If we're being honest, masquerading as a breakfast food, which I'm not mad at, but let's just call a spade a spade.
I know. And brown butter chocolate chip is the one that I just like stopped on and put a bookmark in. And tell us about like why muffins can be both dessert and maybe middle of the day.
They can be more. My kids are obsessed with muffins. Basically, whenever I become obsessed with something, it means my family like survives on the research and dessert that happens there.
Yeah.
I call it old age. I don't know what it is, but the idea to slow down and really enjoy a muffin, I usually do mine with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, of course.
There is something that is so brilliant. It feels so cozy to the palate. It's sort of bready and it's cakey. My muffins aren't as sweet as a cake or a cupcake, but the idea that it can carry so much flavor and a flavor story and personality, and that it is this really sort of vintage, it feels like you're with your grandma, or like life is slow for a moment when you have a muffin. That is true for me.
It's so well
and
said.
I
love it.
I don't know. Maybe it's like the move to Nashville. This is sort of just like what I'm feeling in life. Also, my cookbook editor is the same cookbook editor of Murakami. And
this is Tom or Lexi?
Yeah,
Lexi
both.
Lexi Bloom, yeah,
Bloom,
shout out to her.
And what's up, girl?
Yeah.
And she was like, he's obsessed with bakeries, but he's like, he does a simple baked good. It's like his one indulgence, which I'm obsessed with all of his writing. And his newest book, the protagonist has sort of this moment with a muffin often as a reoccurring scene in the book. And so I got to make a bunch of plain muffins for his midnight release party.
Oh my gosh.
And
how fun.
There's this line in the book where it's a whole dialogue, but he's like, so I ordered a plain muffin. A plain muffin has its merits too. And I just that is like the perfect punctuation. It's calm, it's gentle, it's clear, and yet it's also magnetizing.
It's in bran, carrot, blueberry. It goes in many, lemon, poppy.
All of it. But my thing is no matter your muffin, you can personify it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But also just brown the butter before you make the muffin. And your life, your muffin game, your POV will be forever changed. You'll be a better person when you go out into the world.
I'm buying it. I love it. Okay, so mayo and cakes. I've thought this through, and it makes sense because it's obviously, a product that carries a lot of fat and unctuous flavors in a small amount of space. But please do tell more why mayo works well in cakes.
Mayo works well in cakes, but most specifically in chocolate.
Yes.
So my favorite thing during the pandemic was to demystify, right? We were in this weird, I don't have this, but I do have that. We were more on the what I don't have as opposed to what I do have. And this is one of my favorite things that I learned to think about when I was a pastry cook at WD50 for Wiley Dufresne. Great Lower East Side restaurant that closed. And it was really thinking about every ingredient and what that ingredient holds. And so when it's a grocery store ingredient, it's thinking about great, what's in it? One of my favorite things to do, people went through a point where they couldn't get sugar. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about what you have in your pantry, right? Do you have maple syrup? That is sugar. You can substitute it. There was a point where I was like, do you have ice cream? I know you have, we're locked indoors. I know you have ice cream. Guess what? Melt it down. What is it? It's milk. It's eggs, it's sugar. So now when we make a recipe, you don't need as many eggs, you don't need as many milk, and you have the sugar, thinking about that. So do the same to mayonnaise, which feels weird because we think about it only as a condiment. But mayonnaise is eggs, it's oil, maybe it's a little bit of acid, sometimes some sugar, some salt. Guess what? Those are all things you need in a cake recipe. And it's already emulsified, so you don't have to worry about your batter separating. And in chocolate cake, especially because you're adding cocoa powder, which tends to dry out the cake batter, the mayonnaise allows you to get more moisture in without worrying about separation. So it's the most high level and lowbrow way of thinking
because it's
about
emulsified. The liquid is stuck in there.
Exactly. You can get more liquid in to combat the dryness of cocoa powder. You want the flavor of cocoa powder, but you don't want to deal with the sort of dry crumbliness of it. The emulsification of the fat, the eggs, the acid is already there, so you can get away with adding more in without your batter going.
You also I think 1 out of 10 people hate mayonnaise and 9 out of 10 don't. And there's a draw when you're baking with mayonnaise that you're just selling it pretty hard.
I think you just have to lean into the things. It's not stunty. It's just
stunty.
True. You don't have to bake with mayonnaise. You don't have to make a chocolate cake with mayonnaise. But I'll tell you what, if you put that mayonnaise in your chocolate cake and no one tells you about it, or you tell no one about it, and then everyone wants to applaud you, you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Let me ask you about just inspiration. How do you like develop your recipes and how are you tracking inspiration through the world? I know some chefs like to go on IG and see what's happening in the world of pastry. Some like to read old books. What is your style?
That's such a great question. I often use my like belly as my guide. So just like, what am I hungry for? Like this whole muffin obsession coincides with sort of this relative life change of like slowing down and. That's usually one way in, one like inroad. Another inroad is I like to make people happy with food, usually dessert. And so just asking them like, hey, Matt, like it's your 500th episode.
Yeah.
Like what flavors do you like? What are you into? What's your favorite dessert? I'd like to do a little bit like of like an armchair expert, an interrogation.
Yeah.
And then I use that as my curiosity jumping off point. And then my third is I like to go to thrift stores and yard sales and look at other people's cookbook collections.
Yeah.
I'm always so curious about so many things on like the Milk Bar menu that are classics are things that spurred from something that came before. I love the newness of the dessert that people are putting out into the world.
Yeah.
And I find that I do my best work when I both can see that and cheer them on and then put on my own blinders and find my own like inroads of inspiration. But I'd say those are my top three.
Well, since you asked hypothetically, I'm just going to say this. Canned peaches, but something very unexpected. So like not a cake, but using canned peaches, which, you know, we can like say canned peaches are not as good as fresh peaches, but I think that the concentration in the syrup of a canned peach.
You're vibing with canned peaches.
I'm vibing with
the sparkle in your eye when you said canned peaches. I was like, oh, he's not messing around. This isn't like a Chopped episode. This is Matt is really, we've hit a chord, y'all. Okay, canned peaches, I'm on it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll check back with you on that one. I feel maybe at the end of the show you'll have some pop in your head.
I'm into it.
Or you're just like,
No, I'm a little like, I was gonna go gooey butter cake, but then you said not cake.
I know.
Gooey butter cake is a bar, but then I was like, is it tart to 10? I'm only 1 degree right now. Like my creativity works in like degrees down into the depths.
Tart to 10,
and I'm already in tart to 10 mode of like
tart to 10.
Something in that. But then it's like, ooh, so buttery works, brown buttery works, the flakiness works. But I would go probably 3 or 4 more degrees deeper before I decided whether the tart to 10 with peaches is a good idea.
Thank you for indulging me. I never asked you if you even like canned peaches.
Oh, I think you like canned peaches.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's all that matters. I mean, I grew up in like with Ohio Midwestern sensibilities, so everything's canned and jarred to survive the times when you're not harvesting.
Fruit cocktail, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sprite cake and Ohio summers. That is like the pairing that speaks to me. It speaks to some of our audience. And I love that you're incorporating Sprite into baking. And to be clear, this is like 2 examples I said with Bugles and Sprite. This is not your ethic. There's like full cloth, like classic pastry in here too, but these jumped out to me.
Yeah, these are like the moments of like, they're the breadcrumbs of my taste buds as a kid. My grandma always baked, and so we didn't ever buy dessert at the grocery store, but her grocery store's name was Bob and Carl's, and they had a 7-Up cake that was at the front, you know, in the produce section, and I would always eye it, and I remember her just like tugging my arm like, let's go, and eyeing it and thinking, you can put soda in a cake? Or in Ohio, it's soda pop.
Soda pop.
In a cake.
Or pop.
Pop.
Yeah.
Pop. In a cake.
Yeah.
7-Up no longer exists that I could find, but it was the soda that my grandma drank. And it really is my love letter to that, like lusting after this cake grocery store memory. And just the death-defying act of like, you can drink soda and eat cake at the, like for me, it was like, girl, you got to choose one. You don't get both. And the idea that your cake could be flavored soda pop for me is still remains a magical thing. So I spent months putting together, like trying to figure out how do you get as much Sprite flavor and effervescence into this really like dense, buttery pound cake so that it can still be a gorgeous slice, but also celebrate the spirit of soda pop.
So cool that you can think about childhood and you think about this memory of buying a Sprite cake, but then take your pastry chef skills and make it work for your wide audience. Like connecting those dots, not easy. I respect it.
Well,
I respect the hell out of it.
Just true, where you're just like, it's what's true for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. But I'll also teach you how to make a macaron. So we're
I
good,
know.
right?
All right, we'll talk about a few more recipes. I just want to zoom out and talk about the cover. You worked with Chip Kidd on this cover. That's like, wow. And also like Chip Kidd is like kind of the greatest name for a pastry cookbook cover designer.
It really is. And it's double D for those that don't know.
Double
it's KIDD.
Yeah. What's that like working with Chip Kidd? I just had to get a little nerdy about that one.
You know, it's funny. I tried to play it cool and then I couldn't resist. And then I nerded out and he got really shy and humble, which I so appreciate. But his brilliance for me in working with him was he reminded me who we are and where we came from and what made who we are so special. And it was very much this like a la minute in the moment from scratch. How do we make something visual with the simple ingredients that we already have lying on hand?
Yeah.
And he saw a post once during Bake Club where I would just trace things in flour or sugar or rainbow sprinkles. We just use ingredients to spell something out to like catch people's attention in their scroll. And he was like, that's the cover. Like, that's it. It's nothing else. It tells you everything that you need to know, but in a very non-traditional cookbook cover land. So it's basically just my finger tracing out the words Bake Club.
It's really, really, and it's got a little bit of texture.
It feels like you can trace along because, there's a little spot gloss in there.
Little spot gloss. I love that. No, it's a beautiful cover, and I just had to, working with a legend like that. What does Chip like to dessert-wise? Do you have a sense?
Well, he's coming. He likes classics and icons.
Yeah,
I think he's also maybe a little bit of a risk taker, but I'm going to feed him dessert tomorrow night.
Fun.
So I'll let you know. Maybe he's a canned peach guy too.
He might be a canned. Oh, you're
I'm
still
gonna
thinking.
I'm gonna throw it
you're
out
still
there.
thinking about it. I'm into this. Tell me about the peanut butter cup slicer that you were commissioning somebody to make, or you were thinking you were in like R&D mode.
I got it made. I got it made for Will for Christmas a few years ago. I actually think the person is in Michigan.
Oh, yeah?
I'd have to look it up.
Big peanut butter cup country there.
Big peanut butter cup energy.
Yeah.
We have a love for all things Reese's peanut butter cups, like so much so that there's a PB cup recipe in the cookbook.
There sure is.
Because at some point you have to figure out how to make them for yourself too.
Terrific.
And it's a little bit of like, what do you get your partner to make them to like really commemorate your inside? It's not an inside joke, like the insider truth of things. And
you're very overt about your love.
Yeah, to get the like one of it in a really hilarious way. Because by the way, when you both love peanut butter cups, I'm just going to be honest. I will just take the last one because I'm like, you're too polite to not give it to me. Like you were raised, you know what I mean? Like you were raised a certain way, so I'm always going to eat it. But the peanut butter cup slicer allows for all the things to be true. But it's this cute little pedestal that fits one peanut butter cup, and it's a wire cutter, and you shoom it up and it wheels it up, and the wire cuts through it and it slices, and then it wheels it down. I mean, I have photos of my sister and brother-in-law and husband where we got into an argument one Thanksgiving that Will was like, I can tell the freshness of a peanut butter cup. And I was like, I can too. And everyone was like, I can. And so we were like, okay, let's do a blind taste test. And we went out to as many different 7-Elevens and supermarkets, and we got Reese's peanut butter cups with all different Best By dates on them and did a blind taste test. One of the greatest activities to partake in over the holidays.
Did you find that there was a characteristic of a fresh, like a factory to table?
There is. We used to go. Well, we had been to Hershey Park 2 or 3 times as a kid, and I was like, nothing tastes better than a Reese's peanut butter cup right off the line.
At the park.
Whether that was actual, do they make them at Hershey Park? Who knows? But that was definitely the emotion they sold me as a kid, and I was hooked. There is, but also depends on like, then let's be dorks about food, like from a distribution standpoint, how much temperature degradation happened, right? Did it go into hot and then cold spaces, et cetera, et cetera? But we were pretty good. I'd say we got like a solid B+, but then you're kind of in your head.
I always think there's a little bit, when you open up a fresh one, there's like a tiny coating of moisture.
Yes.
There's like a little, and you can like, if you swipe your finger across it, you get a little bit of residue. If it's too dry, to me, that's a stale
when
one.
They're really close to being bye-bye, they're dry in the center for sure. You can tell them. You can tell about that. You also sometimes get like a little spotting of like fat at the bottom of that like little U board, like coated U board, which is a telltale sign. But like, The reality, Matt, is that I love peanut butter cups, but I usually eat around the ruffled edge because I'm actually like a holiday Reese's person because I don't even need the crinkle outer crack. I'm here for the soft. I'm here for maximum peanut butter and the soft center.
You
filling.
led to my next question. Christina, we got to talk about novelties and seasonals. Seasonals and novelties.
Yes.
What's the top 3 for you right now? I know it changes.
My shapes?
Yeah.
I'm a tree gal. But during Super Bowl season, there's something about the football where I am pretty certain that you have the most amount of peanut butter.
I think I'm with you with the football.
Bats, like we're just coming out of Halloween. They're fine. Listen, I'm not going to say I didn't eat all of my children's version. Like we have a meeting before we go out trick-or-treating.
Mm-hmm.
All of the Reese's come back to the parents. You know what I mean? And they don't actually like the peanut butter, so it's perfect.
Some of the kids don't like it. Yeah.
But I won't even go to bed. I can't sleep through October 31st until all the novelties are eaten. But so my favorite is actually the football.
Yeah.
But tree season is coming up, and a lot of people give trees, and I'm gonna eat
pumpkin trees are in the fall. I like the Easter.
Oh, tell me the egg.
The egg, the yellow foil. I have to tell you this story. You know, during the pandemic,
they're probably the same exact shape.
They're basically the footballs. The footballs, they're definitely very similar to the footballs.
So emotional.
They were like, maybe the footballs can be the eggs, and the eggs can be the footballs. Pandemic happens. It's March 2020. It's April 2020, and people aren't really shopping. So clearly, a lot of the CVSs in Brooklyn had stocked up on their novelties in February. And so April rolls around and Easter rolls around and people haven't been going into the stores. So I find myself at a Rite Aid on Court Street and I'm looking at a wall of Easter novelties. These are usually in Brooklyn, prices are higher. They're usually around $1.79 a piece, which is very high. In some states, maybe $1.25, $1.40. I look at a special little sign that has been kind of handwritten. 10 cents.
I literally was like, I'm so excited for you right now. It's taking everything not big.
An egg.
What?
So, Christina, I went and bought like went home and then they were not there a week later.
This is my know thyself where I'm like, girl, you can go to the store every day, but you cannot bring home $5 worth. But when they go on sale, like post holiday, in my family, there's a text thread and it like the bat signal goes out. Go, swarm.
I know.
Like, it is.
No, we watch. Oh, I love it. I know
10 cents.
10 cents is the lowest I will ever see. It was at the Rite Aid on Court. I think that they clearly just had to move.
Yeah, their PO. They over forecasted.
Well, they didn't know about this world event. What about puppy chow? You call it puppy chow. It's called Monday Buddies in certain parts of the state, but you call it puppy chow. Tell me about why this is so important.
It was called puppy chow when I grew up. It's one of my favorite. When I'm spending time, well, I guess maybe I'm just hungry. Like a little bit, I call it weeknights, WEAK nights, where you're just like, I need something, I need a quick, I'm hungry, I'm not trying to fuss. But also it's one of my favorite things to make with my nieces or with any kid that's like, can we make something together? That's like one of the joys of my profession is I get that question. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to make because it holds infinite possibility in flavor, story, and construction. Yeah. The idea, like it's the ultimate Midwest thing too, right? Completely. It's like melt down some version of chocolate chips and fat. It can be a peanut butter, but it could also be a nut butter or really just butter. And it could be chocolate. It could be peanut butter. It could be butterscotch. It could be white. Like I could go on, right? So just the variation there. Then put it in a Ziploc bag with some cereal. Yeah. And of course, Chex is like the icon for it, but it could be any cereal. It could be any combination of cereal. And then zip it up, and then shake it around.
Which is the fun part.
And then add confectioner sugar. But for me, I see that as an invitation where it's like, it's some confectioner sugar, but you can add spice to it and you can add salt. Yes. You can add sprinkle and you can do anything that can be pulverized down into confectioner sugar-like state can be subbed in or added to confectioner sugar. And then shake it some more and then keep it in your fridge or freezer and eat it in perpetuity. And the like unzipping of the Ziploc bag, the re-zipping, if you keep it like really cold, the crunch that you get. I'm a texture hound. The crunch that you get going from like soft, powdery outer to that like soft but still pretty firm chocolatey to then the crunch of the cereal.
There's something.
It's all my favorite.
There's something to be said about the 2 to 3 week age of puppy child. There's definitely some fridge aging. Like there's definitely something happening with the aging of a puppy child. Give it 3 weeks.
It's like chili. You can't eat it the first day you
can't
make
eat
it, babe. You got to give it a few days.
Weeks. So,
but we were really up. We were like, so what is this called? And should we call it something else? And is there a trademark? Because these are like all of kind of like the realities, the grown-up realities of writing a cookbook. And I was like, and then you say puppy chow too many times and someone's like, are you really calling something puppy chow? And that's the Sprite cake moment or the bugle bar moment where you're just like, that's what it is. Put it down. And
we are not compromising the name. Yeah. To close, I want to ask you about Milk Bar. What's good at Milk Bar? I walk by it. I drop in. I get some soft serve. I get a cookie. I have friends. Shout out to Aram, my good young friend in San Francisco. Loves you and Milk Bar. We always try to when she's visiting San Francisco.
I love. We're 16 this year. We're actually a few days from our 16th birthday, which is crazy. We're building more bakeries, which is awesome. We have
Any
one,
cities?
About to open in Chicago, and then a few others that are to be named, but I'll be there.
Yeah.
We continue to like love the showing up for people in people's lives for like the big and the little Aram. We're in San Francisco together moments. And it's still my favorite place to innovate. Like, obviously, I love to bake and cook at home, but doing it for the people as a business at Milk Bar is so much fun. The partnerships that we lean into are like opportunities for us to do that. Yep. I brought you a Thanksgiving croissant.
Thank you.
One, because the stuffing croissant is in the Bake Club cookbook and it's on the menu for a limited time and they like go crazy every day. So show up early in the morning and get your Thanksgiving croissant.
People line up for these. I love it.
They're so good.
People love pastries. It's just something about it. I had Dominique on salon recently. We just keep talking about lining up for pastries. Something like pure joy about waiting for a cookie or a croissant.
You're not waiting in line for mac and cheese. I mean, I would for really good mac and cheese, but there's the inherent joy of like just showing up with dessert. And our like mantra is just like dessert for the people, man. We just want to democratize dessert. Like my like goal in life is to feed every single person in the world a cookie because we talk about all these big, hefty, heavy things and it's like small, joyful things, little by little over time stack up and make a really big difference. And so 16 years in, it's been like an absolute joy. And I'm just so curious and open-minded and excited about what the next. We're 500 in taste. We're 16 years in. And here we go.
We'll see you on the other side,
That's
Christina.
It, babe.
I love it. On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid-fire Fast and Furious taste check. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The best fruit.
Mango at the Santa Monica Farmers Market changed my life. I'd give up the rest of dessert for my life if I could just have that mango over and over.
The worst vegetable.
Beets. Hate beets.
Yeah.
Can't even smell them.
It's a challenging one. This is that's for everyone, but for you, it's extra special. The best dessert. Everyone answers it.
My best dessert is chocolate chip cookie dough that's warmed slightly in the microwave or like grossly baked on a baking sheet. It will never get old for me.
Never.
Ever.
That's childhood. Because like the lunch ladies just didn't know how to bake.
It's like the part of childhood that no one ever would let you take it to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or would make you take it too far when all you really wanted was it kind of warm raw.
Favorite city outside America to visit for food?
Paris. Mexico City, Paris. It depends.
Those are great answers. Both. We'll give you. You worked in restaurants in New York for years. Is there a restaurant from New York that you would bring back from the dead?
Oh, in a heartbeat, WD-50.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. It was so ahead of its time. And it was so the reason that we think about food the way that we think about food. And it never got, I think, the credit that it deserved. And if it were still in operation, think of the incredible dishes and flavor combinations and technique.
I know.
That would continue to propel us forward as like a food community.
It's true. There's some that come close. But
100%.
But yeah, that was a special, and the alumni that came out of it is probably the most special part. What Wiley Dufresne was able to kind of foster in that space, and then the pastry side, Alex Stupak,
Oh,
Malcolm Livingston,
Malcolm Livingston. Come on.
Sam Mason, you. I mean, like so many.
Rocio Sanchez. Like
Sanchez.
You could literally, yeah.
Renee took all those guys.
You love it. He's like, your closing, great.
Yeah. Come join us.
Copenhagen.
Well, that's a good one. I love that that you named that one. Your favorite cookbook of all time?
The Joy of Cooking.
Yeah.
It's not where I go for my recipe. It's where I go for my starting point. It's just chocked full of so much history and ingredients and wacky and true and heartfelt. Yeah.
It's a funny way to put it. I mean, a good way to put it. Wacky is what it is in the best way possible in all respect. A recent cookbook discovery that you found?
My recent cookbook discovery, like to the point of one of my jumping off points is going to like yard sales or thrift stores in search of great cookbooks. Are you ready for this? It makes perfect sense when you think about it. Pick up the cookbook and find the page that has been dog-eared, turned to, has the most crumbs laying in the center. That is the recipe that you either take, buy the book, it's like $1. Take a picture of like, that is, you want the recipe that someone has been made on repeat. And how do you find that in a cookbook? That's how you find it.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That idea is so wow.
Because we don't make every recipe from every cookbook in perpetuity. Maybe we bake through the book, but we find the one or two recipes that slay, that slap, that hit our taste buds. That's my, it's funny. It's like my recent discovery, but it's like hiding in plain sight.
It's right. And that,
for decades.
Put on my WME hat. That's a TV show.
That's a TV show.
That's a TV show, finding these
You're
recipes.
really pitching these shows I'm into.
We had a little one off the mic. Well, you should do it. The one off the mic we won't talk about. All right. Last one, your favorite sandwich.
Oh, my favorite East Village Days, Sunny and Annie's on Avenue B. Just below the park. And I always get the turkey Reuben and I add kimchi. Because honestly, if your local bodega isn't offering to put kimchi in your sandwich, you're not at the right one.
Sunny and Annie's.
Sunny and Annie's. It was my after 16 years ago, like once a week on my air quotes Friday night, which was Sunday night because I took Monday off. I'd walk over there.
Yeah.
They're open 24 hours, which is great because at 3 a.m. when you're like, I'm ready for my weekly sandwich.
Yeah.
It's the thing that fueled like the whole Milk Bar empire from my contribution.
Beautiful memory. Avenue B had some great restaurants back in the day.
And also, by the way, they still come up with new sandwiches. They're all hilariously named. They're all super clever and creative. And they don't get like it's an if you know, you know, but it's the equivalent of going to an amazing bakery that has these great mashups. Sunny and Annie's first.
I love that shout out. Christina and Tosi, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for
Happy 500th, my friend. And thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for coming by. I love the book. Thank you so much. Eliza, what's up? How are you? What's going on?
Not much. I'm just in recovery from my birthday weekend. We can talk about some of the things I did maybe.
Oh my God, I want to hear all about your birthday. You start. We're doing 3 things. You start.
Okay, my first thing, it's food plus activity, which is, I think, my favorite way to spend a weekend in New York. Food plus activity is that I went to Pastis for lunch and then went across the street to the Whitney afterwards to see the Alvin Ailey show that they have on right now. And I highly recommend both of those activities, especially together.
It's a 1-2. It's like a perfect
1-2
New York
punch.
Into the fall, into the winter. Is that show on past the holidays? Do you know?
Yeah, the show just opened.
Great.
It's going to be up, I believe, through February. It's really incredible. It is kind of a combination of archival video and sound that is showing highlights from the Alvin Ailey Dance Company and then art that is both inspired by Alvin Ailey or was inspirational to him. Also some of his personal letters with his friends like Langston Hughes, for example, that he collaborated with. And you're just kind of walking around the space, taking everything in. Beforehand, I went to Pastis and I got French onion soup, which was like it was soul nourishing, I would say, in a both edible and non-edible way.
I love the 1-2 pairing, and this show has been covered and on my list, and I'm so happy to hear it's as good as it sounds. And what's the scene check at Pastis right now?
Wow. I mean, it was a lot more locals than I kind of expected, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe because we're not quite in holiday tourist season. Yeah, I really there were a lot of older distinguished gentlemen who go there every Sunday probably and eat their own bowl of French onion soup together, that kind of vibe. We got a really nice little 2-person booth that kind of seats out facing the dining room, which is really good for people watching. It was a lot of families, a couple dates I think that were happening.
Cool.
It was cute.
So Pastis, the old location, Tom Brown, the designer, used to go there literally every day for breakfast. And I think he ordered like eggs and toast and one other thing. And it was like the legend of Tom Brown sitting there every day. I've always thought about that. I've always gone back to that little, I think it was a New Yorker piece about him. And like in my retirement, in my life, when I can maybe have a schedule, I want to do that. I want to be like a regular at a restaurant every single day. That would be so cool.
Yeah, I think that's really special. And I did not see Tom Brown, but I will keep an eye out for him.
No, I just think that's what I connect with pasties for whatever reason.
No, I love that. What's your first thing?
My first thing is Eli Sussman is doing a collab with Baldur, the fine food purveyor. You see the trucks all around New York, and you see it all around the East Coast, actually. And I love this move. He's doing a neon ski cap that says peak season on it, and then he has a sweatshirt with the phone number of Baldur, and you know the phrasing, the recording when you're a restaurant, you call in your orders, and it's like the line that they say is like printed all over the shirt. And I just like this idea of like the collab between chef and Baldur, and doing it in like an organic way. It looks really cool. Like I love the colors, and I don't know. I like Sussman. He's doing some cool work. So that's my first collab. My second collab is my friend Steve Rydell is making these cool shirts. Shirtosphere is what's called, and he's doing these Bob Mold sugar mashups, and he does a Red Hot Chili Peppers mashup. In the spirit of Samin Nosrat's iconic book. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. It's a really fun collab. He's doing Beth Orton as Tim Hortons. Visual collabs are not the best podcast material, but I'm just saying this is...
No, it's kind of like a riddle, because now I think I can picture what the Red Hot Chili Peppers mashup shirt would look like, and then after we're done speaking, I can go see if I'm right. Yeah,
it's great. Just hit the link. Shirtosphere is what it's called. What's your next three thing?
My next thing is a public service announcement, which is that I found out I've been using a box grater wrong my entire life.
Interesting.
I don't know if everyone else knows this, but I saw an Instagram reel about this, and I actually got really furious that I had never thought about this. Apparently, it's supposed to go sideways. Do you grate this way?
That's interesting. I've never seen it done that way, but I always feel like that up and down, exposes the knuckle a little bit too much.
It's really difficult to grate something up and down.
Yeah.
Everything kind of like falls out. When you turn the box grater on its side, then you take your onion or your cheese and you're just kind of moving it back and forth like a mandolin. And then everything you're grating gets caught into the middle of the box grater. So it's perfectly contained. It's not flying everywhere. And then you can just pick up the box grater and you dump everything that you grated into your pan or your bowl or anything.
That's a really great PSA. We're approaching Hanukkah.
Yes.
It'll be box grater season.
Yes.
The only way to do it is with a box grater. Do you agree?
I completely agree. And I also think there is lore that you kind of need a little bit of bloody knuckles so that it's
totally.
a proper lockup. I will say I think the bloody knuckles chances are much lower if you're using the box grater this way.
I agree. It's great. We're approaching the season. We're also like holiday pies, perhaps. I remember seeing a box grater recipe with pie by grating pie dough as part of it. Do you know? Have you ever seen this?
Like you grate the butter for the pie dough.
Yeah, exactly. You grate the butter for the pie dough. That's exactly right. I knew it was I'm like, that's how much I bake, right? I'm like talking in broad strokes here. I'm not really doing like full like America's Test Kitchen style recipe podcasting here. This is straight like I think you use a box grater in a pie.
I've seen recipes like this before.
I remember, box graters can be done in pastry. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. But really, go home, do a box grater this way. It's going to be like a life-changing moment. Maybe.
Yeah. So what else do you box grate? Do you ever get the bricks of cheese? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, well, I make a quesadilla for lunch like at least once a week, if not more. So I'm buying the Cabot cheddar and grating it quite often. For me personally, this has been transformative.
I always aspire to buy the bricks and save a little dough and just like maybe get a better cheese. I always end up going with the pre-shredded.
I think a lot of people use pre-shredded. I don't personally, just because I don't like that there's extra kind of preservatives or like starches on it. And also sometimes I want to like be able to cut off a piece of cheese and just snack on it. So I go for the block.
The block of cheese.
I go for the block of cheese.
You're pro block, yeah. I don't know why. I always aspire for it, but then I look at those bags and they speak to me. But you're making me think I might do my next trip to the grocery store. I'm going block.
do block just so that you can try the box grater this way. It's going to be worth it.
Exactly. I was like thinking all the things that could be great, but yeah, that'll be the thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's your next thing?
My next thing is we had Malcolm Livingston II in to record a podcast. It'll come out, I think, at the end of December, early January. It's so terrific. And to remind listeners, Malcolm is a former Noma chef. He worked at WD-50. His life is the basis of the character Marcus on The Bear, and he was on the final episode of this latest season of The Bear. And he's such a great guy. But I have to say, and it's because it's fresh in my mind, he brought with him some of his new ice cream bars, part of his plant-based ice cream company called August Novelties. It was really freaking good.
Okay, tell me more. What's the base for the plant-based ice cream?
So he uses the tiger nut, which is the size of a chickpea, and he says it grows in Spain. And that is like this unlock that he's had is this new style of milk, this protein source for the ice cream, and really I think with the tiger nut he's getting this texture that we all really seek with plant-based ice creams. I personally like Van Leeuwen a lot. I like their handhelds. I like their pints. I really don't like Ben & Jerry's. I've tried to. I love plant-based ice cream. I love vegan ice cream. It's really, to me, it's like a little bit lighter, and it doesn't leave that coating that ice cream has. But you're gonna like this dude. He does a version of the Choco Taco. He's basically doing dark chocolate shell with these really, really, really great tortilla chips, like kind of like shredded tortillas as the coating on the outside.
I love this idea.
It's such a good idea, right? It's kind of genius.
Where I can get this in the grocery store?
He is still in research and development, and he is yet to launch it officially. There is a website, so it's not like he's telling me stuff off the record. But yes, he is.
It just broke my heart in half, actually.
I know. The other thing is he's doing a strawberry and cream with all Harry's berries.
Ooh.
And I have to say that was my favorite out of all three. And he has cookies and creams as well. Really, really high quality chocolate. I mean, he's going for, and he kind of wants it to be like, reach for an August. Like he wants to be a new category of handheld. This is premium. It's a very premium product. I can imagine it on the shelf of Erewhon or in the freezer section there. And this is like one of our greatest minds in pastry doing handheld ice cream bars. Delicious.
Okay, well, when they are one day released, I will be in line ready to buy the Choco Taco alternative.
It's gonna be big when customers can taste this version of Choco Taco. It's gonna be huge. What is your last thing?
My last thing is that I went to the preview for JJ Johnson's restaurant, The Glory, that he's been kind of previewing around the city.
Cool.
Have you heard about this before?
I haven't actually. I love JJ, and he's been on the show a couple of times. I was unfamiliar with the new project from JJ, so tell us.
He's been trialing this concept, combining the culinary worlds of the American South, Puerto Rico, and Barbados. So kind of coastal cuisine, coastal Black cuisine in all these forms. And he did a preview at Platform at the Beard Foundation earlier this year. And then last week, I went to one at St. Bart's Church in Midtown, which was a very fun location for it. And actually, the bishop of the church was having dinner there at the same time.
Whoa.
Which was really cool.
So cool.
I couldn't see what he was ordering, but I can tell you what I was ordering, which was really delicious. Yeah. Some of my favorites were this kind of jerk duck that was really tender and delicious. He did charbroiled oysters that had Scotch bonnet butter and crispy chicken skin, kind of gremolata on top. That was quite good. Also really like the chicken wings, which were fried and kind of tossed in Old Bay. And then there was a guava sauce that you could soak up. There's a lot of guava on this menu, which is one of my favorite fruits. So I really enjoyed that. I think there is no permanent location for this restaurant yet. He's still kind of trying to find investors and bring it to life. But it does seem to be something that is kind of occasionally popping up around the city. So I would keep an eye out for that.
I'm really happy to hear this. JJ has been one of my favorite chefs. I loved his work at the Cecil. I went there a couple times, and Minton's as well. It was just kind of like a nightclub. And he was doing great, bar food there. And then, his rice restaurant I've been to, I think in Rock Center when he had it there. That was really cool.
Yeah, now it's up in Harlem, Field Trip.
Field Trip, right. Couldn't think of the name of it. Field Trip. That place was really cool. And, JJ, his book from last fall, or maybe a couple falls ago, I can't remember, really amazing book about rice. It was like really one of the most comprehensive kind of assessments of the rice, the rice recipe game, and really like teaching everybody how rice comes from many sources. And I just thought he was so, when we had a conversation about it, he's so passionate about rice, and he's not just doing it for the cameras. He was like doing a lot of work behind the scenes. And so, but he hasn't had a restaurant. So I'm like this type of restaurant since Minton's and the Cecil closed. So wow. So he's looking for like funding or something?
Yeah, that was kind of the sense that I got, was that they are
Great.
trialing the concept and trying to find a permanent home for it. But when I was there, it was a really good crowd there. Everyone was really excited about the food. And I had a lot of things that I would love to get to eat again in a formal restaurant. So I hope it happens.
Yeah, I hope it happens.
What's your last thing?
My last thing is I made a trip to Aquavit. I hadn't been there, I think, in like a decade. And I'm very excited about their new-ish, to me at least, bar menu. So Aquavit has had 2 Michelin stars for 10 straight years in New York, which is quite an accomplishment. And the chef is Emma Bengston. She is a Swedish chef, and this restaurant is Swedish in every way. And Aquavit is a restaurant that's in Midtown, and really, I think a lot of Swedes and a lot of international tourists are there, and also like fans who want very structured, like prefix style dining. She has a tasting menu that is all over the place in the best way. But this bar menu is cool because it's just like it's a la carte, so there's like lower pressure to have all that food, and a couple things come to mind because I haven't had like Scandinavian fine dining in many years, and I forget how much I just love the smorgasbord, like the spread of everything that they the pickled herring, gravlax, shrimp, skagen, cheese and potatoes all like piled together. But what Emma does with baking is incredible. The bread basket has 3 types of bread, sourdough, rye, and there's some crackers there, and I think that's one of her great strengths. She also introduced this fish burger made with Chilean sea bass, which I really enjoyed. And I have to say, like a black garlic bun, chili aioli, it was really a nice for a lunch. I'm totally into that.
Yeah, I like the sound of that, kind of like a lighter burger option. And of course, the homemade bread probably makes it really special.
And she also has a princess cake. It's like her trademark pastry. And Emma, as I mentioned, is a tremendous baker. And I was like really happy to make a stop in Midtown to a new restaurant that I hadn't been to in a minute. So that was great.
I'd love to hear it.
This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.